Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at the next Devblog for, well, the next major update. It's the VTT DCA. It's another French SPAA coming in at rank 2. France has got a bunch of SPAAs over the last few updates, and it's been lovely to see because they have got some quite large BR gaps to fill in that area. And I feel like they've done it pretty aggressively, but also pretty well. The VTT DCA will kind of help that little area, and hopefully it will make grinding through the tech tree a little bit easier for a lot of people. Let's get into the history of this little machine. Based on the AMX-13 light tank, the VTT Armoured Personnel Carrier was developed and launched into mass production in 1957. As this chassis was widely produced, it became quite a suitable platform for numerous experimental variants. A notable example being the AMX-13 VTT DCA, the Véhicule de Transport de Troupes, or Defense Contre Avion. It was armed with an American M45 50 cal quad mount, the same found on the iconic M16 half-track, and unlike the M16, however, the VTT DCA was only a single prototype and didn't reach mass production. One of the large themes of last year was SPHs and kind of getting them into the mid-tiers, but another theme was adding mid-tier SPAAs, something that was needed for a lot of nations for the longest time. And France was one of those nations. That's why they got the AMX-10P, that's why they got the TKX, I believe it is, and now they got access to the VTT DCA, or maybe the TPK is the France one. The TKX, I'm pretty sure, is the Type 10 prototype. The main thing is France has got a lot of vehicles now in the mid-tiers and doesn't just have to rely on the AMX-13 DCA to be able to do damage. Now, the VTT DCA will be one of those vehicles that's probably between the AMX-13 DCA and something like the lower tier machine that France has, that kind of truck thing, which is very open. And I think it will serve its purpose pretty well. You know, the fact that it has the 450 cals puts out quite a lot of damage, and also at the same time has a massive magazine, meaning that you'll be able to pump out a lot of lead into the air before you have to reload, which is a huge bonus for these types of machines, because, you know, if you have a short clip or if you have a short small magazine, it's not really going to go anywhere. You're going to have to really be accurate with your shots, where with this one, you have a little bit of time to work out the lead and then kind of work out from there. The vehicle itself, with the good old M45 mount, will have a great time, and it's one which is used by so many different vehicles already, and this is probably the best form of it. All the other ones, like the CCKW for China, the CM52 for Italy, and the M16 for America, they don't really have a ton of protection to keep them alive, whereas this one, being based on the AMX-13 chassis, it still will be able to get shredded by planes, even with just standard cannons or high-caliber machine guns, but it still should be able to defend itself better than those other machines, which can get destroyed by, well, 7.5mm machine guns. So I think overall, this thing will be higher BR than it, just because of the fact that it has that extra protection. It also has 4 crew members. So you have the gunner in the mount itself, you have the driver in the front, but then you have 2 in the booty, a commander and a loader. So even if you take out, you know, the gunner or you take out the driver, there's 2 guys just sat in the back kind of superstructure, which will keep this thing alive and keep this thing firing. So that will be really cool. It also won't be as susceptible to overpressure, even though it won't have a ton of armor. It isn't open topped, so it'll be a little bit harder to destroy with stuff like rockets and bombs, giving it once again that extra survivability. So overall, that's quite nice. It also means that BR-wise, I've got a feeling it might be one of those vehicles that comes in at a certain BR but then just goes up. Kind of like the Skink, right? Well, the Skink came up at a certain BR and then it just kept going up in BR because of the fact that it was so survivable and therefore couldn't just be nuked by a random plane. This vehicle, if it gets, you know, if it isn't classed as an open top because of the M45, then it should have a really good time kind of surviving against these shots. The other thing is, you know, I suppose it could be used as a kind of support vehicle on the ground too. You know, the 50 cals really don't pen that much, but at the same time, there's a lot of vehicles around rank 2 that don't have a lot of armor, so you can kind of chew them up as you go. I'll be very surprised if they give this thing scouting, but then again, they have given certain machine scouting, which I probably wouldn't have when it comes to SPAAs, since this thing can defend itself all around. It doesn't seem to have any smoke grenades or anything like that, so your survivability is straight up based on how you can hide and how mobile you can be with the AMX-13 chassis, which is a pretty mobile one. You know, you can chuck it around the place and have a pretty good time with it. Probably will get like ESS or something like that, just so you can put it and then kind of run away and have a bit of fun, but nothing too crazy in that setup. But it's just another mid-tier SPAA, you know, or I suppose this one's more low-tier. We've talked about these ones so much, and the fact is, I know a lot of people talk about top-tier CAS and how oppressive it is, and it is pretty oppressive. You know, it's got a lot of mechanics that you can't really just do anything about. But mid-tier and low-tier CAS, holy, do you have some insane CAS elements, depending on what nations that you run. Basically, there's so many lineups which completely depend on their CAS, and since it's very easy to get into them nowadays, it means that stuff like the VTT DCA is needed in lineups to kind of keep you alive and keep you cracking. And with the M45 mount, then hopefully it can do that. But the M45 also, one of my favorite things about it is actually playing it in other games. Stuff like Men of War, for example, or Gates of Hell. You know, like RTS, World War II games, just kind of plonking it somewhere and kind of using it as a defensive area, or plonking it outside of an objective and then pushing somebody forward to scout, and then brack-a-dack-a-dack-a-dack, just annihilates everything. And, or at least it tries to, and then it just gets bonked by an AT gun or something. But usually it's quite effective at dealing with general units, which is quite nice. But yeah, there's nothing really else to say about this thing, apart from it kind of shows that the league list that we had previously is probably correct. Like, there's been some very odd devblogs in a row. The Wessex, the VTT DCA, both of these wouldn't be ones that, you know, you wouldn't just randomly think of when it comes to leaks. So if you want to see what seems to be coming out in the rest of this update, make sure to check out that list, because, well, so far it's been completely bang on, which is crazy. Usually there's at least a little bit of wiggle room, and maybe there will be a little bit of wiggle room because no naval stuff was on that list at all. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd like to thank Schnitzel Stroker, Brendan Quinn, Vilneus, Character Fuel, Carrion Crow, Nicholas Richardson, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, B. Young, Opium Prime, Masonocrat, Lafouche, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.